Zonka Awatika.
Ngati Nkati Wakanda Jinki, Wakanda Jinki, Hankala, Mastope, Zane, Mahoe, Ajazi, they Conse Hala, Wakanda Jinki. Majadi, these stuff, they walk either, Wajazi, Zanzoli, Pasoli, Waka, Wanda, Hubik, they Wajaji, the other Wajaji. On all that, they will Wakanda Jinki. Thank you, Father, for this beautiful day that you granted us, all the seasons that you granted us for our use and for our survival, Father. Give us strength today. Bless all the visitors that are here, Father, all the participants, Father. Bless our council, Father. Bless all those that bereaved at this hour, Father, and those that are not well. There are many, Father, in all of our districts, especially the older people, Father, the orphans and the homeless, Father. Give us strength today and bless our minds, Father. Thank you, Father, again for this day. Ask all these things in your name, Father, to give us strength today. Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Please be seated. Reading of our deceased.
Olivia R. Gilliland, May 19, 2023. LaGrange, Edgar Scott Prine, October 27, 2022. Bonita, Oklahoma. Nahoma Dickey, May 13, 2023. Arnold, Maryland. Catherine Chaplin, May 9, 2023. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Melissa Hopper, May 31st, 2023. Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Benjamin C. Lockman, October 30th, 2022. Whereabouts unknown. Sheila K. Coversall, June 10th, 2023. Rogers, Arkansas. Charlotta S. Collins, June 19, 2023. Midwest City, Oklahoma. Marion E. Stevens, May 19, 2023. Wichita, Kansas. Michael Primo, June 15, 2023. Seminole, Oklahoma. Gregory L. Robbins, June 20th, 2023, Phoenix, Arizona. Shirley L. Croxton, May 2nd, 2023, Conroe, Texas. Sally J. Dennison, June 25th, 2023, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Willie A. Prosser, June 22nd, 2023, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Rather rest in peace.
Thank you, Secretary Red Eagle. I'd like to take a moment. Let's go have the roll call, please.
Councilman Big Horse.
Here.
Councilman Chishawala.
Present.
Councilwoman Curry. Councilwoman Curry. Councilman Redcorn.
Here.
Councilman Red Eagle.
Here.
Councilman Rebar.
Present.
Councilman Shackelford.
Here.
Chairman Waller.
Present.
We have a quorum.
And thank you. After a call to order, opening prayer and roll call, I'd like to address the constituents here today. I'd like to start off with addressing my Congress member today, Zonzoli Osage. Thank you for being here. I'd like to identify also my councilwomen that I've sat with, Councilwoman Boone and Councilwoman Irwin, and then I'll close with my aunt, Frances Kilpatrick. Thank you all for being here. With that being said, I'd like to do a little housekeeping. I would like to turn the floor over to Councilman Redcorn for an introduction, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to introduce Mark Thomas. We got to chat this earlier. He's a Special Forces officer in the United States Army, and Mr. Congressman Maker is also a veteran, Army veteran, and myself, an Army veteran. It's a joy to talk to you about our careers, and I appreciate all our veterans. Thank you, sir. And I want to mention Joseph Lesage. He was killed in World War II.
Best he's dead.
He was flying over Germany in a bomber, B-17, as a navigator. And the word was given to my sister to maybe have something, kind of special to start recognizing these heroic folks that's Osages that's put their life on the line and actually lost. I just want to remember Joseph Osage, killed in World War II on a B-17 bomb. Or actually, he's officially listed as missing in action because he was over that sea there, the Norwegian Sea, when he was shot down. So they never did find him. Thank you, sir.
True respect to our veterans and yourself, sir. The delivery of a service among our people was there before we even had our vote. But I do want to acknowledge in these conditions, the Osages were still fighting many battles. But in 1754, we went up north and dealt with a group that is now have a banner. And the Osages said that we will support and fight for this banner to the ends of the earth. Coach came on. That was also with some of my men here. I know their fathers. It's a little moving, so I'll end with this. The sergeant needs to be recognized, but also my brother Dusty serving in Vietnam, and we're very proud of him. And it's a little emotional because I have some others, and Marion's family, Kenny Eisenberg, still MIA. With that being said, give me just a second. Is there anything else we would need to go? I'm going to go on down the agenda. Lacey?
Councilwoman Curry?
Thank you, dear. Thank you for patience. With that, we'll continue. I'd like to open the floor to my superintendent's report. Ms. Kennedy, please.
Good morning, thank you. The superintendent's report for the June is as follows. The total oil produced was 332,756.8 barrels. Royalties paid were $3,505,847.02. Total gas produced was 210,419 MCFs, and royalties paid were $53,732.38. The total gas liquids was 224,299 gallons. Royalties paid were $32,709.83. The total tank bottom was 78.12 barrels. Royalties paid was $143.43. The water usage royalty paid was $21,008.46. Under other minerals, APAC produced 31,288.49 tons and paid $34,448.63 in royalty. Candy Creek Crusher produced 0 and paid 0. Burbank Materials produced 0 and paid 0. Wilson Ranch produced 0 and paid 0. Rocky Banks produced 0 and paid 0. Schmidt Brothers produced 480 cubic yards and paid $360 in royalty. Sherwood Construction produced 0 and paid 0. The producing well count is 18,082 plus 3,230 for the saltwater disposal wells. The approved permits, there were 3 workover permits, 8 plugging permits, 8 emergency plugging permits, 4 emergency workover permits, 0 drilling permits, and there were no new drilling completions to report. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilman Chishwell.
Yes, Kenny, there's a new one to us that's popped up on here. I was wondering about it. Water usage royalty. Where's that coming from?
That is for the, like the commercial saltwater disposal wells that they pay for what they inject or dispose of each month.
Okay. And is Burbank Materials shut in?
No, they actually did have production in the month of June, but I don't report it on here until the money is actually in the account. Otherwise, what you see on here wouldn't match the total that's on your back page or your second page.
All right, thank
So
you.
there is production, it's just I report it when they actually, the check comes in and actually goes to the account.
Okay.
I have to go second chair, Red Eagle, and then Councilman Rivard.
Thanks, Chairman. County, I brought the EPA in a couple meetings ago, maybe 3 meetings ago, and they reported to us that this particular test, MIT test, nitrogen tests that it couldn't be performed on by certain people. And they brought it, they came to us and said they had people that could do that. And I think one of them is Matt Allen from Barnville, another woman, as well as maybe others. But they reported to us there were 170 saltwater disposal wells in the county that needed this test. And I talked to Mr. Colwood, about it. Told him that, could you keep track of how many producers there are that need this test? And he said he would. So I'm asking you today that would you find out if there's any of these producers using this test since that date? It's been about 3 weeks ago.
So like basically if any of them have, their tests have been completed, is that what you're?
Yeah, the test needs to be done. It's a nitrogen test, particularly Paul knows a lot about it. Could you report to us the next time how many producers have actually done this test so they can operate their wells? And therefore would be more production for shareholders.
And that's for, you said, a nitrogen test, not the MIT, or is that?
Wasn't it Paul, the nitrogen test? Paul?
It was the nitrogen test, Chairman. Thank you, Secretary. Actually, it would be the UIC, what used to be the UIC department, under the Osage Nation, that would govern that, and that's who conducts those tests or witnesses those tests. But out of the 170 wells, I think it's like around 180 injection wells, all those were not requiring nitrogen tests. The nitrogen tests were just a handful, maybe less than a half a dozen, that required that nitrogen test, that also required a certified engineer to witness it. And that's what position was lacking for a period of time. That's, from what we understand, has been filled. I don't know if they're actually actively performing those tests, but I'm thinking this may be outside of the Bureau of Indian Affairs authority. I think this is under the EPA, under what we call the ENR office, which used to be our UIC program. So I'm not sure that the BIA can provide that.
I will definitely check with Kohler and see if, if he's notified in some fashion, and if he knows, I will definitely report what he knows.
Appreciate it, thank you.
You're welcome.
Council.
Back to this water usage that Councilman Cheshire mentioned. So it's not water usage, it's not actually water usage. Maybe we should change that terminology if we're not selling water. Also too, this royalty is paid, these in commercial injection wells that you make reference to, they're not owned by the mineral council or the head right owners, are they? Who owns these commercial wells that you're talking about?
There are a handful of companies that own them, and they're the ones that are, hauling the water and then disposing of it. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, because, that was what I was wanting to know, that these were owned by, I guess, outside sources. It wasn't us. These
Right.
royalties are paid to us because they're utilizing our pore space. That's what I'm asking.
Right, yes.
So they're using our pore space, and we are charging them this $21,000 for using our pore space for this 1 month period. Do you know what price per barrel that equates to? You know how many barrels are being injected into these wells?
I would have that information, I just don't have it in front of me, and I'm not sure right offhand. It could be one of them where they pay kind of like some of the 214 leases, how they use their amount used to be a little bit varied between the leases. But then again, they may pay the same royalty for each one. But I can definitely check it out and let you know.
I'd like to know what kind of document we have that would describe this process. Do we lease this port space to these companies that own the commercial wells? What documentation do we have showing what their responsibility is to pay this royalty?
They have what you could consider like a lease. They're very similar to the easements for saltwater disposal wells, but they're more specific to the commercial saltwater disposal. So the verbiage will read differently from a typical easement for saltwater disposal, since it is commercial, but that is what we have on file.
And would it be the operator have that commercial well that pays this royalty?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is it the operator of that particular commercial well that pays royalty?
Yes,
And is the saltwater injected into that commercial well, that would come from multiple sources
yes.
possibly?
Tank trucks, yeah, tank truck companies, yeah. Looks like a tank.
Well, I'd be interested to know if you would share with us, where we can see these instruments that you're talking about. I assume that they're probably several years, if not decades old. I've not seen them or really heard about them until today. So I'd like to have access to them.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, sir, and just out of the clarity of it, it is a leasing element, easement, but the permitting is exactly how the charge will be. Also, as we're doing in the gravel, it falls under a certain item on page, and these are, sectioned out as commercials, Title VI, aren't they, disposals? But whoever has the lease owes the royalty to it at, whatever the given rate is. Even if ENR does it, it still comes back to the Bureau on deciding that amount. But once they get that, they can ask you other questions then.
Do the tank truck companies have to pay into it, like whenever they go to dispose into one of them?
The person, the lessee that has the disposal is typically the ones that are picking it up.
Okay.
Like, one, for instance, is say Charles Pierce Trucking.
Yeah.
You know, you might know by that name. They are the ones that are actually picking up the water, but then they also own their own commercial disposal well.
Okay.
So, as my knowledge is they are the ones picking up and bringing in the water to their own well.
And the actual permit will identify that specifics in this order, who owns it, where's it going, what is the price, and that's what they're held to in our payment. Can I interrupt you just a second? Did you have a question? Yes.
Yes, how many of these wells do we have in Osage County? And did I understand you, maybe I misheard you because of the acoustics in this room? Are they bringing salt water outside of Osage County and actually putting them in the commercial saltwater disposal well?
I don't believe it's coming from outside the county, no.
Okay, how many of them are there in wells?
I'm gonna say there's probably 6 or 7.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Council, we have any other questions? Is that, yes, Councilman Reddick?
Thank you, Chair. 0 drilling permits and no new drilling completions reported. Is that right?
That is what Mr. Kohler
Okay.
reported to me, so
7225 HPP right to yesterday. The mineral council needs to get a little busier. We need to start getting some of these. Thank you for the report.
you're welcome.
Anyway, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, sir. Council, we have any other? Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
And when we do get the clarification of the disposals, that is one of the questions. I believe that once we identify in the permitting, whether it's an on-lease disposal, whether it is a commercial lease, and then if we are getting, but it also has a certain criteria, what is allowed in disposal. So we also need to keep on that for injection of other materials that are not permitted. With that being said, thank you.
You're welcome. Say, what I can do on those is I can, if it's before the next meeting, I will try to get those copies of those scanned, and I can send them to Lacey, and then she could disperse them to.
I would like this case to have them identified, just so we have that availability, just like in the question. I knew it because I worked over there,
Right.
but some of these are really archaic. Okay, thank you. Council, would like to move on? I'd like to go into item number 5, BTFA, Mr. Garinger, Mrs. Garinger, excuse me. It's been a long morning here, thank you, my apologies. I'll sit there and look at you and step twice. I'm still
Well,
good.
with my first name Troy, so I get that more often than you think, because people don't see me, so. Okay, well, thank you for allowing us to be here today. Again, my name is Troy Garinger, I'm the fiduciary trust officer, and then along with me is Stephanie Davis, our trust accounts administrator for the Osage accounts. Right now, our office is performing our annual tribal administrative reviews of all of the tribal accounts. So we've been busy performing that. We sent over a letter for your agency to respond. I think we sent it last week, so we did send something out. We will be conducting outreach this weekend at the Tulsa Powwow. So we'll be there, I think, on Sunday, July 23rd. So this is our first time to be out doing actual outreach since the pandemic. So we're kind of excited about having that opportunity. So it'll be an indoor powwow, so that's what we,
That's what I had
chose
to.
to go. The other item that we're, that has happened, I guess, effective July 17th was the Trust Beneficiary Call Center in Albuquerque is formally has government employees right now. The government contract ended last Friday, and they're staffed with government employees. So there is a transition period. They've changed their hours during this time. I think they're going to be open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time until August 18th. So their number is 888-678-6836. And if account holders can't get a hold of them, they need to call our office. So our number is 918-287-5791. So that's all I have today, unless you have any questions.
Council, we have a great variety of our shareholder here today, so I really appreciate the outreach. And we have just come through this pandemic era, so whatever you can do will help, and it is in air conditioning.
Yes.
Thank you. With that, I'll move on down. Thank you, ladies. Council, I have the treasury report in front of you from Mr. McIntosh. Is there any questions? Lacey?
Mr. McIntosh is not able to make it today.
We just have this one printout, no?
No, that's the,
That's theirs. We'll have to then get the information brought to us at the next meeting. Is that correct? Everyone fine with that? I'll move on down the agenda. With that being in, I'd like to go into new business. Frontier Bridge Incorporated 214 lease, Mr. Hamill. Sir, make yourself at home, come out there. And take your time with that right leg there. I hope that's not your ankle.
My name is Michael Frank. I'm the operations manager for Frontier Bridge. Gene Hamill couldn't make it. We're needing to acquire a sandy soil mining permit for an ODOT project that is located down on State Highway 20, 1.7 miles southeast of State Highway 18 junction near Ralston. Our excavation quantities, what we're doing, we have to build a detour with a temporary bridge to reconstruct the existing road.
Where you're at.
Over the rails. And, we got 8,000 yards to, construct fields for this detour and main line. And then there's 16,000 estimated waste that will be used on the right of way, waste within the ODOT route. We were wanting to start next Monday on the project, because we have lots of subs, everything we've got to get aligned. We we were told the fastest way to do it would be appear here today.
But is all your, dirt coming off the location itself?
Yes, no borrow. No
There's
borrow.
no borrow pit like I did when I built the road that you're hooking on.
No.
Everything's coming off
On
of
one side currently.
that. They're a little bit over the 5,000 square yard requirement, but since, it's not being moved on or off the working location, I don't think a royalty would be owed. When you get done with the actual bridge project, everything will be then in turned into backfill and
Yes.
the drainage element, everything you do.
Yeah.
So there'll be a turnkey on that. You're from front end to last. When do you expect this to be done and completed?
We call the contract 203 days.
Okay. Council, do you have any hesitation of me waiving this permit under this event? Lacy, note that we'll prepare the signature letter unless you feel like we need to take another effort.
I feel like since they're a little bit over, we need to do a resolution.
Okay. I could entertain that motion.
Make a motion that we entertain a waiver for this proposal.
Yes, I need a second. I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Redcorn, seconded by Councilman Chichewala. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the question. And this is just because we are adjusting some. Usually I can just sign it, but this is covering me and you.
Understand?
Councilman Bidkhorst,
Yes.
Councilman Chichewala,
Yes.
Councilwoman Curry. Yes. Councilman Redcorn,
Yes.
Second Chair Red Eagle,
Yes.
Councilman Rebar,
Yes.
Councilman Shackelford,
Yes.
Chairman Waller.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you very much. We'll take care of that. You will deal with our chief of staff, Lacey Reynolds, and she'll have it prepared as quick as possible. I'll get it signed to you.
I do have blueprints from MoDOT. If y'all would like them, I have EQ permits.
Yes,
If y'all would like to keep them.
for our effort of showing location, and we'll probably need it because you were a little over, but in these cases too, is that the quicker we get you in and out, the better off we are as a nation.
That release will be emailed to Gene Hamel.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Yes, sir. You are next, second chair.
Should that be done in executive?
I almost would like to take it to executive at this time.
What is he, which one?
The proposed rule committee. Second chair, that's up to you. We're down to that position on the agenda, 7B.
Chairman, I'd like to have it put in executive session.
Am I allowed to go to the next new business item so we can take care of it at this time? Is council fine with that? With that being said, I'd like to call in E.W. Carter, Continental Leases, Mr. Spurgeon. Please join us. Sir, we are in an open forum, so you go ahead and start.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for entertaining me again, council members. Thank you. We just want to reiterate previous offers that we bonus offer for the leases formerly held by Continental Oil and Gas. I have copies of that offer, as well as Illinois, you want to see them at this time. But anyway, we just more or less want to let you know we're still very interested in that property. If you would decide to grant that wish to us. So anyway, that's.
Thank you. I have the information. Councilman.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we accept this offer. I got a letter dated July 13, 2023, with the details from E.W. Carter and William Spurgeon. Possible acquisition of oil and gas leases formerly owned by Conoco Oil and Refining. Additional bonus offer has been upped to $785,000, 20% royalty. And I wanna read this, third paragraph. We, and I'm assuming that's Mr. Carter and Mr. Spurgeon, we have limited access to these wells and limited information about, therefore we made an estimation of the number of wells that are equipped for production. And that's kind of where we're at today. Limited information that we can assess our reservation. But I still think we need to keep moving. I continue to get calls from shareholders. What's your prediction of our head-right payment? And it's not good news because we're not moving leases, to me. So I mean, in another situation, we could get competitive, but I agree with your statement there, limited access and limited information. So you're using a lot of pulling out of your back pocket to try to estimate what's going on here.
Yes.
So I would like to make a motion to accept this offer.
Thank you, council.
Second.
That's what I was gonna ask for, required second by second Chair Red Eagle. Discussion?
Yeah,
I'll
thank
go
you,
to
Chairman.
council real quick.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I appreciate Mr. Spurgeon and Mr. Carter's interest in these properties. These have recently been moved to our orphan abandoned well list by the Bureau of Indian Affairs Superintendent to do with what we want. We have an agreement among ourselves, not by resolution, but in multiple sessions and executive sessions, that we would have these properties evaluated before we decided what to do with them. I think that knowing that this Mr. Carter and Mr. Spurgeon's interest is one group of 5 that I know of personally that have been to us already from Osage Mineral Council 4. This goes back to Osage Mineral Council 4. Some of the ones that weren't here then. These are properties that were canceled, that originated, I mean, we've all heard the story behind what happened. But we have, my point is, we have at least 5 people, entities, interested in these properties without us even soliciting and advertising one day that they're even available. I think that because of the interest of these 5, there's probably additional entities, not only locally, but nationally, that might be interested in these. We talked about packaging these and maybe taking them to the NAPE in Houston. That's held every February and August. We might take them to EnergyNet and have an online auction. Or we may just have the Bureau of Indian Affairs conduct a lease sale like we have historically done 3-4 times a year at different venues over the times, most recently in our chambers or in our lobby. But so I suggest that we table this, or no, we don't table it. I guess we're going to vote on this resolution. So I'm sorry about that. But I would like to. I'd be very much against accepting an offer when we haven't seen or haven't considered the other 4 companies that we know of that's already been to us. And also before we would consider selling them at an auction. So I will be a no vote for those reasons and other reasons. Thank you, Chairman.
Councilman Shackelford, then I'll get right back to the
Thank you, Chairman.
motion.
You know, and what we do here, the responsibilities we bear for the shareholders that put us in these chairs, voting for something. I appreciate Mr. Spurgeon and Mr. Carter coming to us. To touch on what Mr. Revard spoke about, there's other entities that are interested as well. In my opinion, I feel like making decisions of this magnitude on limited access to data is shooting in the dark. In as much as Mr. Spurgeon and them are projecting, we're not for sure what's there, but they're willing to up their bid, and I appreciate that. That's the sincerity of offering more money. At the same time, we have a geologist on staff And I would be more inclined to take a vote to have him go down and visually inspect each one of those releases, seeing whether or not there's, what's on there. And then bring it back to, and if we have to do a professional service contract with an entity that can determine the actual value of, 6 water pumps, 40 pumping units, 40 gas engines. I mean, again, the nation, whenever we put things out for bid, most normally, oftentimes we get more than just one bid. So I think it behooves us as a council with limited numbers not to accept something first blush here. We need to do more due diligence. And as you mentioned, as Mr. Reward mentioned, this goes back to the previous council, I guess, when this was being batted around, and now it's carried forward to this. So I believe, in all honesty, we need to have someone from the Minerals Council, whether it's Mr. Leonard or another entity, go down and take a visual inspection and do a proper analysis and bring it back to the people know exactly what that value of that equipment happens to be. So I'll be able to vote in that respect as well. Thank you.
Councilman.
Thank you, Chair. When did you bring this to us? It's almost been a year.
Yeah, August.
So next month it'll be here. If we'd approved this, we'd have stuck $500 extra into our per head right shareholders' pockets. My thorough belief is not only this, but we need to move about 10, 15 of these a year. And we're not. And my estimate is this head right payment is going to continue to go down if we don't start auctioning like we did back in Minerals 2 and 3 and 1. I think we were auctioning every other month. We haven't had an auction since Minerals 5. This is a solid offer. Again, we don't have a lot of information. My prediction is we're going to be sitting here another year from now talking about this. In that 2 years, all that production could be going to our shareholders. And this 500, or it's up to 500, I'm not going to say exactly, but that's going to get in your pocket. That's what I'm fighting for. We've got to get moving and sell the leases. I just read here, Cammie was sitting right here, 0 drilling permits, no new drilling completions reported, 72.25 today at the highest posted price. We need to get moving. That's my estimate. I've not been sitting here like this since it's been a while, and we got to get moving and approve 10 of these. 15 of these a year to get that production up around 10,000 barrels a day. I'd like to get up to about 15 to 17. Chairman, you and I were involved back in the day, and we were approving 300 or 400 leases a year. I got 0 and 0 reported right here. The big problem, again, is lack of information. I'd love to do a study, but until we get our hands on that information, we open that door so like those producers can walk in and see all that information. Then they can do their analysis. We're stuck until that gets uncorked. Those old days are over. You cannot go into that room and pull up this list, pull up that, grab all the files. That's where we were, but we're not there today. So these gentlemen come in and they're saying, and this is kind of like we ran our CO2 project. They went around the lack of information and got enough data and assurances where they could go to the bank and start getting some financing for CO2 development across the county. Now we can kill that, but I want everyone to recall, I don't know who's all listening, but it's the lack of information that's killing us. And these guys have come around that using their skills, and they're looking through the binoculars. You just said it right here in your letter, is that right? You can't get all of it, right?
No, that's correct.
And so you're estimating we think it's this. I talked to Bill Lynn, it took 10 minutes. And I said, where are we at on this? And he said, he told me this equipment is pretty good. He thinks it's above what normally we see in the county. So I'm for this. I'm gonna vote yes. challenge us to do 10 to 15 of these a year. And this has been a year and we haven't done one. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Second chair, and then council.
Thank you, Chairman. Right now, production is 10,730. Last time, a couple of months ago, or last month, it was 10,300 and something. Went up about 400 barrels. So, and we don't know how much more it's going to go up. Always going up, of course, you read that every day, you know. But whether that affects your payment check, I don't think it will. It was 48 something last time, right? Maybe that or even lower next time. It's not breaking. There's a lot of shareholders, Chairman, here today that could pretty much probably concerned about it. And I don't blame them. Affects us all, affects the whole county, affects the city of Osage, affects all the surrounding areas too. We've been talking about this for a long time. A year, you know, these guys are talking about, our council members are talking about studies, doing, right now, see how much it's worth. And that was a year ago. In 2022, nobody's come forward, even these other companies that want to bid on this or have a proposal for it, they're not going to sit there and start studying. They had a chance to come here and see it. They've had a chance to bring their proposal to us and say, hey, let me do this. I don't see anybody else here but Chuck. Chairman. I'm not finished.
No, second chair, please.
But, that's the storyline right now. And if you want to do a study, if you want to do a study of this, there's about 40, 50 wells out there, isn't there, Chuck?
Yes.
And that's a lot of wells, and it would take a lot of money out of the shareholder pocket. It costs the shareholder that money to study this thing. These guys are oil men. These guys been out in the field. I work with Chuck. He's an oil man. E.W. Carter's been around quite a while too, hasn't he?
Yes, sir.
But,
Since the north
I
side.
don't think we need to wait on a study. I think we need some production. I think y'all should take.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Chairman, thank you very much. And I don't mean any disrespect to the second chair, but he's sorely mistaken. It was April, I think it was, of 2022, that a gentleman in our chambers today, who's got his hand raised, I just noticed, contrary to what the second chair just said, is in the room. The first operator that came to us to tell us about these properties asked to purchase them because he was in the process of buying these properties. He had his assignments from the seller's daughter, could not get them approved by the BIA because they were in the process of being canceled. So this operator came to us and said, and told us about the situation. It said, as soon as they're available to lease, I would like you to entertain an offer to lease them. We said, come back and see us when that happens, and everyone went on their merry way. That was 1 year and 2 or 3 months ago. Since then, as word got out, 3 other companies have approached us in writing and in person, wanting the very same properties. Our geologist, that was just mentioned multiple times in this discussion, has performed a certain amount of due diligence, not such that it was a certified reservoir engineering report, but he did, using his 35, 40 years of experience here in Osage County as a geologist and as an operator of oil and gas wells, gave his professional opinion as to what these properties are worth, and it's about double what we've been offered so far, without saying any numbers to exposing anybody's previous offers. This is not selling leases, this is selling production. Yeah, of course it would require oil and gas leases, but this is shut-in production. And with existing wells and development potential. this, the fact that we don't have a lot of activity right now, it's not necessarily this borough council's fault for not selling leases. Councilman Redcorn has reiterated something that I've been preaching for 10 years, since the superintendent locked up the doors around the corner, that we can't get an electric law. Well, I won't go there. I've got personal stories that I can testify to that, and maybe someday in court I will. And I can't wait to do it. I can't wait to get back in court and get our hands on a file we can open up and look at an electric law, or a 208 completion report, or a 139 report, or a damn stripper law. All right? That is killing us. And the price of oil being $72, yeah, when the price of oil came up, well, the service companies doubled or tripled their prices. So everything's relative too. It's not like it's so high that we ought to be just running out and happy days are here again. It's finally to a point, I think, economically, that it's, you know, certain operators with a little bit of capital might get out and start doing some work. That's where we are. And I say that we vote on this. I'm voting no, and I appreciate the Councilman Shackelford's no vote. I'm really surprised that we're having this discussion, that we would be so irresponsible not to give a little evaluation as to what we have, that we have to offer, and maybe invite a little competition. Okay, with that, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to reiterate this third paragraph. We have limited access to these wells, limited information about. These are these gentlemen who spent their whole career in Osage County. This is, to me, this ain't the first one we're knocking down and rejecting if we vote. And I'm okay just as long as we vote. I want to go on the record that, you know, let's vote. You like it, vote yes. You don't like it, vote no. That's what we're here for. But MI3 came in and did the same thing. 93 million barrels of oil they found. $10 billion in total revenue. $20 billion royalty alone for our Osage headright holders, and we rejected it. So I'm saying, when are we going to get to the business of selling oil? And I can't continue to talk to my shareholders who cannot make it from one payment to the next. They used to live very well. And now we're struggling, and I think we need to get moving. I'd like to see 10, 15 more of these a year to get our production back up, Mr. Red Eagle, like you're saying, 15 to 17,000 barrels a day. I got a goal of 20,000 barrels. You know, but we can't do that by sitting around waiting on the BIA. We got to get active. This one walked in the door. We waited a year, 1 year of production royalty gone that I could have gave to our shareholders. $750,000, that would have been paid out in our last payment, or the one before, but we didn't do it. When are we going to get about selling oil, getting royalty barrels up? That's where our shareholders benefit highly, effectively. And we got to do this. So I'm going to vote yes, and I appreciate, Chairman, if we could just vote on it. I'm going to call for a question.
I'd like to say something.
Councilman Tishawala?
No.
Councilwoman Curry?
Yes.
Councilwoman Curry?
I gotta have this one. This here.
Councilman Redcorn?
Yes.
Second Chair Red Eagle?
Yes.
Councilman Rebar?
No.
Councilman Shackelford?
No.
Chairman Waller?
No.
Councilman Big Horse?
No.
Motion fails.
Thank you. Is this a consideration of what we just got to on the motion?
No,
Let's wait for a minute so I go into executive and then we'll get right back
okay,
with
well,
you.
I'm gonna call that we don't have the information on it because that man sitting there at the table has all the information. He didn't say how many acreage it was.
Ma'am, we're gonna wait for a little bit. Let me go ahead and entertain a motion to go into executive.
So moved.
I need a second. Second. Yes, Councilwoman, former Councilwoman Bailey, is this on the subject?
This is on the subject of executive session. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. This is Cynthia Boone, shareholder. I see here on the agenda where we have proposed rule committee by Councilman Redigal. So it was gonna be discussed for all of us to hear, and all these rules affect us here. But I missed the vote on who wants to move this to executive session.
No, it was just a consensus request by the second chair that it should go into executive. I don't know what they're going to discuss yet.
Apparently, it was something that could be discussed in front of all of us because it is an open session, but I'm disappointed that he wants to move it to executive session since it affects our shareholders. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am, and due to the situation that we're in, I think now would be a perfect time to talk about it. We've got to also talk about the element of where this council requested on these rural committees to have another date, and they denied us. So someone's already met with them, we have not. And let me finish.
Okay.
We are not available, our attorney wasn't available. They wanted us in a meeting today when for 100 years, we've been having this meeting for the council. And with that, we couldn't proceed, and we're being denied the next meeting in 2 weeks. This has been going a long time, it's been killing us since August 2014. That's when Councilman Revar's talking about. It's a letter that I got in here in 1 month, and they wrote the letter that stopped us being able to get our records. And Councilman's right, it's cleared us. But at that case, let me go into executive, and then I'll have him answer your question after we come out. Thank you with that. I have a motion on the floor. I have a second motion on by Councilman Chichewala, second of Councilman Big Horse. Call for a question, please. Go into executive. Look at me, look at me.
I'm sorry, who did you say made the motion on the second?
Yeah.
Councilman Chichewala.
And who seconded it? Okay.
And you're fine with that? I'm going to take it to executive as council requested. Okay.
Councilwoman Curry?
Yes.
Councilman Redcorn?
Yes.
Second Chair Red Eagle?
Yes.
Councilman Ricard?
Yes?
Councilman Shackelford?
Yes.
Chairman Waller?
Yes, go to executive.
Councilman Big Horse?
Yes.
Councilman Chichewala?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We will clear the room, but we're going to take a 10-minute break.
Recording stopped.